painted on the arm, and about an inch squared, and the body will absorb it. If it absorbs it within 2 hours, that's a person that needed that iodine. If it's still there 12 hours later, then that's not a person that needed it. There are other people. I forgot there's a guy. I'm sorry, I can't call his name to mind right now. Who has sort of, I think, revived interest in the thyroid and in helping it work optimally. Who will give an oral dose of iodine and then collect in the urine what's excreted. And if very little is excreted, this is someone that needed the iodine. So, just sort of begs the question to me, why would we supply thyroid hormone to someone if all they really needed was the iodine to be able to make it themselves?
How is that different than having people take the iodine pills and then doing the ultrasound on the thyroid?
And doing all right, I guess I'm not really exactly sure what you're talking about. If you're taking, sometimes we give iodine to people to decrease the vascularity, or iodine can be used as a medication when somebody already has a thyroid problem, and it may help sort of prime. I don't know exactly the right word. It may help decrease some of the fluid collections that have collected in the thyroid. Some of these cysts or goitrous nodules. It may help out with the treatment there, and maybe that's what you're talking about. Then maybe they ultrasound it later and see if they're smaller. This is a little bit different. This is saying, I know you have a low. Maybe I suspect you have a low thyroid function. You have your hair's thick and coarse, and maybe your eyebrows are very thin at the edges, and your skin is kind of puffy. And what I'm going to do is see if you have enough iodine. Is it a problem with the thyroid? Is it a problem, or is it this thyroid doesn't make enough thyroid hormone? Or is this a problem that you weren't getting enough iodine in the first place? And that's what this question is supposed to resolve. Does that help?
I think so, yes. Okay. What's the difference between vitamin D2 and vitamin D3?
Okay, great question. D2 is made from irradiated mushrooms. It doesn't occur anywhere naturally in the human body. D3 is what your skin makes in the sunshine. It's also made in animals' fur, which makes sense. Why would they make vitamin D in their skin? Their skin never sees the sunshine. But animals make it in their fur, and actually my favorite preparation of vitamin D3 is extracted from wool. But it doesn't. D3 does not naturally occur in plants ever. So the people sometimes feel, say, well, I like vegetarian everything, and I understand where you're coming from, but that doesn't work with vitamin D2 or vitamin D, because D3 is what you really need. D2 is what I think someone just wrote the federal government and said, hey, can I call this stuff vitamin D2? It's got some vitamin D activity, and they said, sure. And then they proceeded to study it indiscriminately and said, oh, dear me, it causes toxicity if we give too much of it. And I think that sloppiness is what has left us with some confusion about whether vitamin D is toxic or not. D3 really is not toxic. D2 really is. So that's the difference there.
It was interesting when you said magnesium is the highest. That is the most common deficiency?
Yeah, it's extremely common.
Even more than calcium is, huh?
Oh, yeah. And, regarding calcium, most of us aren't actually deficient in calcium. We're deficient in vitamin D. They've done the studies. They gave women all this calcium, 2,000 milligrams of calcium a day. It had no impact on their bone mineral density. The issue, I think we're finally coming to see, is what is the vitamin D level, because without vitamin D, you can't absorb it. And if you're taking sufficient vitamin D, if you're taking 4,000, 5,000 units of vitamin D, you probably do not need to supplement calcium unless you have a specific, calcium deficiency issue, unless, for example, you have no parathyroids, or you have you have osteoporosis, and you're working to normalize your bone mineral density. Probably most people getting enough vitamin D don't need to supplement calcium.
Hmm. So, okay, wow. Um, because I was just thinking about all the different multivitamin supplements, and most of them cannot even give, there's no way they could provide the amount of calcium or of magnesium that is needed on a regular, on a day-to-day basis in
Yeah.
that smaller size pill.
Right. Well, and the happy news, though, is that the vitamin D also influences magnesium absorption. So, that's good news.
Got it.
Because if you're getting the vitamin D, then you're set up to absorb what you need to from the foods you're eating.
So vitamin D first before you think about trying to load your body with calcium supplements.
Yes. Yeah, especially. See, if you don't have a problem, if you don't know you're osteoporotic or you haven't had it, like I said, the operation, if you take out all your parathyroid glands, you're going to have to take calcium. Most of the rest of us probably don't. We just need the vitamin D.
Here's a question about, well, someone is speaking about a specific condition, and folks, like we always say, we specifically try to discourage specific questions with regards to specific conditions, because that's not what we're about here. We're focused on helping people understand how their bodies work. It is a little risky to actually to deal with specific health challenges, but Dr. Owings.
Having said all that, sure, what's the question?
Okay, all right, go ahead. I have cervical dystonia, a form of Parkinson's. Can you give me an idea of what may help me?
Say it again. I still didn't hear it. Some dystonia. What dystonia?
Cervical.
Oh, cervical dystonia.
Cervical dystonia. Okay, that's how we say it.
Okay.
What can you give me an idea of what may help me?
No, but I could look into it. I mean, do you have an email address for them or something?
Yes, I do. I can send that to you.
Sure. Yeah, send it on. I'll look into it.
Okay. And if you send this, just remind us of all this. Okay, just email us after the webinar. And you can write out some more information, and we'll forward it over to Dr. Owings. Okay. Sherry?
Here's an interesting one. Do tanning beds provide vitamin D?
Yeah. So here's the story. If it's a UVB bed, which most of them will, then it's going to help provide vitamin D. The sort of the bad news, that the flip side of the sunshine story, and the reason that probably so many of us are more deficient than ever, UVA breaks down vitamin D. So if it's a UVA, UVB, you may be breaking some down as you're making it. The other problem is the vitamin D that we make in our skin, you have to wait 2 days without taking a shower with soap and water to absorb all that. So it's easy to see why lots of us walking around are vitamin D deficient, because most of us in polite society bathe every day,
Right.
and whether we need it or not. And it's so it's easy to see there's a problem. The thing that we're learning about tanning beds, though, is two things. They may be providing a lot of radiation that we don't want. We may be exposing ourselves to radiation that we wouldn't choose to if we knew about it. And the other issue is there may still be a risk of things like melanoma. It's another scary thing about sunscreens. The sunscreen may protect us from UVB, but it doesn't protect us from the melanoma, the rays that are causing melanoma, or the damage that's causing melanoma. So, you find yourself going, well, should I sit inside with the shades drawn? It's kind of hard. It's hard to know. There are lots of reasons to use sunblock. I mean, I don't want to look old and wrinkled, and I don't like age spots. But yet I'm aware there's a certain amount of damage